Hollow points have ruled the self-defense world for decades, but in 2025, more gun owners are ditching them, not because they're bad, but because something far more capable has taken their place. After watching real-world tests and barrier demos, I stopped asking if I should switch, and started asking why I hadn't already. What's up, everyone? This is your boy Ted from Line 45, and today we're breaking down the real reason shooters, instructors, and even off-duty cops are walking away from hollow points, and what's replacing them inside carry guns across the country. Before I start, I would really appreciate it if you would push those buttons below. The subscribe button, the notification bell, all of them. This is not necessary, but those little clicks help a brother out. Plus, it pushes me to give you more valuable car-related content on your screen. Now, buckle up, and let's get back to the video. Solid copper hollow points. I was running a Glock 19 with a threaded barrel and a KKM comp, testing groups at 15 yards with Barnes TAC XPD 115 grain plus P. Tight groups, smooth cycling, and zero barrel fouling after 50 rounds. That's when I knew copper hollow points weren't just boutique ammo. These things are engineered with serious intent. Unlike your typical lead core JHPs, solid copper hollow points like Barnes TAC XPD, Black Hills Honey Badger, and Remington HTP copper are milled from a single copper slug. No separation, no fragmentation, no lead to deform or shear off after barrier impact. The main advantage? Weight retention and barrier consistency. Because copper is harder and holds shape under pressure, these loads punch through auto glass and steel without breaking apart. In gel tests with 4-layer denim and laminated windshield glass, Barnes consistently penetrates 12 to 14 inches while fully expanding. That's FBI standard, without the typical jacket, core issues of traditional hollow points. The TAC XPD also expands with 6 sharp petals, basically cutting tissue instead of pushing through it. They're also suppressor-friendly. Lead fouling with traditional ammo stacks fast in suppressed pistols. Solid copper burns cleaner and runs longer before your can needs a bath. If you're serious about a defensive pistol setup, especially one with optics or a can, South Carolina HPs are absolutely worth looking at. But copper hollow points are only part of the new ammo wave. What's next doesn't even expand at all, and it still outperforms a lot of traditional carry loads. Let's move into fluted solids. Fluted solid projectiles. I remember watching a Lehigh Defense Extreme Defense round tear through ballistic gel behind auto glass, and the thing didn't even expand. No mushrooming, no petals, just a fluted copper slug carving a wound cavity like a drill bit. That's when I realized some of the best performing ammo today doesn't rely on expansion at all. Fluted solid projectiles like the Lehigh Extreme Defense and Extreme Penetrator are CNC machined from solid copper, just like the SCHPs we talked about. But the magic here is in the geometry. These bullets use a fluid dynamic effect. The flutes channel soft tissue outward at high velocity, creating a massive permanent and temporary wound cavity. Think of it like controlled turbulence inside a target. That means you get consistent tissue disruption, even in scenarios where hollow points clog and fail to expand. They also feed beautifully in micro-compacts. No sharp edges or cavity lips to catch on feed ramps, which makes them perfect for platforms like the SIG P365, Glock 43X, or Springfield Hellcat. And because they don't expand, they maintain predictable penetration, usually in the 16 to 18-inch range through FBI standard barriers like denim, plywood, and auto glass. That's not guesswork. That's backed by calibrated gel data and third-party tests. Another bonus, they're legal in restrictive states. Hollow point bans in places like New Jersey don't apply here because there's no cavity. These aren't a workaround. They're a whole new class of effective defensive ammo. Coming up next, we're talking about ammo that flips everything literally. Tumble-on impact ammo. A buddy of mine was running Fort Scott Toohey out of his Glock 19X during a private shoothouse session, and every shot through soft barriers looked clean. But the terminal ballistics? Messy in the best way. Tumble-on impact rounds aren't designed to expand or mushroom. Instead, they destabilize the moment they hit tissue, causing the projectile to yaw and rotate end over end, shredding internal organs far more chaotically than a clean-through wound channel ever could. Fort Scott Munitions Toohey is the flagship here. These are solid copper projectiles machined for flight stability, but intentionally designed to destabilize once they hit anything soft, flesh, ballistic gel, even synthetic tissue. They're not fragmenting, not fluted, not mushrooming. But the damage is dramatic. Gel tests show deep penetration, which is around 12 to 18 inches, depending on barrel length, with severe off-axis wound paths. The tumbling starts about 2 to 3 inches in, which is right in the critical zone. What makes this stuff valuable in a real-world carry setup is consistency in shorter barrels. Micro-compacts often struggle to generate enough velocity to reliably expand hollow points. With TUI, velocity matters less. These rounds tumble because of geometry and impact, not kinetic energy alone. They also offer excellent feed reliability, making them attractive in finicky guns like single-stack 380s or snub revolvers. Legally, they're carry-safe in jurisdictions that restrict hollow points, which gives them an edge for urban carriers crossing into places like New Jersey or Hawaii. Now, if you're still a believer in traditional expansion, but you want something tougher, we're about to dig into bonded JHPs and what makes them a bridge between old school and modern tech. Bonded jacketed hollow points. I was zeroing in a SIG P229 for a buddy, running through some 147 grain Federal Tactical bonded. The grouping was tight, but what stood out wasn't the accuracy. It was the way the round held together through every test barrier we threw at it. Bonded, jacketed hollow points are where traditional ammo tech gets serious muscle. These rounds still expand, but the design makes sure the jacket and lead core stay fused, even after passing through metal, auto glass, or drywall. If you've ever seen a regular JHP peel apart or lose its jacket in gel, you know how fast that compromises the wound channel. Bonded JHPs eliminate that problem. Top-tier performers like Federal Tactical Bonded, Spear Gold G2, and Remington Golden Saber Bonded are built to meet or exceed FBI protocol, especially in those tough barrier tests, like laminated windshield glass. And they deliver, with consistent expansion and 90 to 100% weight retention even when the round has to chew through hard stuff first. They're still technically hollow points, so they don't escape restrictions in states like New Jersey, but they're trusted by law enforcement agencies across the country for a reason. If you want expansion and you expect to be in environments with cars, fences, or structural cover, bonded JHPs are your workhorse. Unlike SCHPs or fluted solids, bonded JHPs aren't about reinventing the bullet. They're about making the most reliable version of the traditional hollow point design. Let's shift gears now and talk about a very different category. Ballistic tip ammo. One of the cleanest feeding rounds I've ever cycled through my Springfield XDS was a Hornady Critical Defense 115 grain FTX, smooth chambering, zero nosedives, and no feed ramp hangups. That's where ballistic tip ammo shines. It was built from the ground up for concealed carry pistols that don't always play nice with wide-mouth hollow points. Ballistic tip ammo uses a polymer insert seated inside the hollow cavity, which serves two purposes. First, it streamlines the nose for better feeding, especially in short-barreled semi-autos. Second, that tip gets compressed into the bullet upon impact, initiating reliable, rapid expansion without risking clogging from clothing or debris. Hornady's FTX, or Flex Tip E-Expanding, design is the leader here, featured in both critical defense and critical duty lines, depending on whether you prioritize civilian self-defense or barrier performance per FBI specs. In testing, critical defense expands reliably after passing through heavy denim or leather. Critical duty steps it up with interlock bands and tougher jackets, tuned for barrier-blind performance, which is ideal for folks in duty or security roles. You'll get consistent 12 to 15-inch penetration with near-perfect expansion every time. Another plus, ballistic tip ammo is widely available and priced more reasonably than exotic copper or fluted rounds. It's a great step up from traditional JHPs without jumping into the boutique ammo price range. If your gun is picky with hollow points, this ammo can solve both performance and feeding problems in one shot. Now let's pivot to something purpose-built for CQB and indoor defense. Frangible ammo. I was doing a shoot house run in a concrete bay, close quarters with steel targets, and let me tell you, running centerfire frangible rounds gave me peace of mind. No splashback, no ricochet risk, and no over-penetration worries. That's the space frangible ammo owns. It's not about barrier-blind performance or giant wound cavity sits, about limiting collateral risk in tight, high-consequence environments. Frangible rounds are made from compressed metal powder, which is usually a mix of copper and tin, pressed into shape and sometimes jacketed. The key trait? They disintegrate into powder on hard impact, like steel, brick, or concrete. But when they strike soft tissue, they stay intact just long enough to penetrate 9 to 12 inches before breaking apart. That makes them ideal for home defense, particularly in apartments or structures where neighbors are just a wall away. Ammo like Centerfire, Liberty Civil Defense, and Winchester's frangible lead-free lines are becoming popular with home carriers who want to reduce the chance of through-and-through shots or wall penetration. Liberty's rounds are ultralight and hyperfast. Think 50-grain 9mm at 2,000 feet per second. So you get an immediate energy dump, though they sacrifice some depth. That trade-off matters. These aren't great for shooting through barriers or for outdoor defense scenarios. But if you're protecting a small house, shared dwelling, or have kids sleeping in the next room, frangible rounds give you an edge in controlling terminal risk. And lastly, hybrid loads. I had a chance to test some Lehigh-controlled Chaos loads through a buddy's AR pistol setup, which is not your average carry rig, but what stood out was how the bullet behaved. It penetrated like a solid, then fragmented after a few inches in gel. That's not expansion. That is engineered failure by design. And it's part of a new generation of hybrid defensive ammo that's rewriting the old rules. These rounds don't fit neatly into the JHP or monolithic categories. Some are fragmenting solids like Controlled Chaos. Others are multi-core designs with internal cavities that split under pressure. The idea is simple. Delay fragmentation until the projectile is inside soft tissue. That creates massive internal disruption while maintaining the 12 to 18-inch penetration needed to meet FBI standards. It's downright surgical. Another emerging tech is pressure-based expansion, or bullets that bloom when they hit a certain resistance threshold. Think of it like adaptive expansion based on velocity and medium. These are still early stage, but manufacturers are clearly aiming for performance that's more responsive than static. Some manufacturers are even experimenting with multi-material blends, combining copper and polymer for directional fragmentation. And while most of these rounds are still niche or expensive, they signal something bigger. Defensive ammo is moving toward intelligent behavior, not just brute force. So, where does that leave traditional hollow points? For me, they're still relevant, but increasingly edged out. It's kind of obvious that the newer options aren't about expansion anymore. It's about control, consistency, and barrier-proof versatility. And that's where your carry decision should be headed, towards something that performs when it counts, no matter the conditions.